Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, yesterday I mentioned about a local MP of mine, Peter Bone. He's not my MP, he's in the constituency next door. He's a Tory MP, and he's facing censure today in Parliament. There's going to be a vote, and they're going to vote to suspend him. With luck, he will be suspended. It turns out that, going back historically now, it's about 10 years ago, he was being a bit of a very brutal bully, physical, as well as sort of emotional and mental bullying, but also exposed himself to a young man who has sort of came forward once and then pulled back from that and then come forward again. And eventually it's all come out. There's been a full investigation and Peter Bone is now looking at being suspended, which means there will likely be a recall petition. Now, if that recall petition it goes up, chances are he's going to face another election. Now, he does have a strong majority. Wellingborough, his seat. Wellingborough itself is quite a sort of strong left-wing area, but it's surrounded by a lot of rural areas, and it tends to be a very safe Tory seat generally. But given what we've seen recently in a couple of by-elections, that may not be the case. This could lead to Rishi Sunak having another by-election defeat before Christmas, possibly. It's not looking good, is it? Anyway, we'll take a look at the story, see what Peter Bone has done, Bone by name, Bone by nature perhaps, and see what the outcome is likely to be. Here goes. So this, of course, is another example of why these people, MPs and that, they become MPs and they think that they're invulnerable and that they are above the law and they can do anything they like. And this, of course, is why, and I say it many times, this is why I actually think most MPs, politicians generally, are a contemptuous lot. We shouldn't be looking up to them for any kind of moral leadership or guidance. They all tend to be pretty awful people. It attracts psychopaths, really, doesn't it? Anyway, MPs are set to suspend Tory Peter Bone today for exposing himself to young aid, setting up another potentially damaging by-election for Rishi Sunak. As the victim says, the brutal experience left him a broken shell. Now, it is, like I say, it is going back a while. People wonder why. Well, if you're being abused, why do you stay with it? But we all know sometimes it's not that simple. There's loyalty issues. You sometimes get Stockholmed, all sorts of things. And of course, the bullying becomes the norm. And it's only when you step out of that and look back and you realise how bad it was that you then sometimes decide to do something about it. This is what happens. Things at the time you sort of put away, and like I say, it's only when you look back. That's how it is. Anyway, MPs are expected to approve a 6-week suspension for sex abuse Tory MP Peter Bone. I would suggest that he should have been thrown out of the party. Now, I know he's had the whip taken from him, which means he can't represent the party, but I think he actually should have been thrown out of the party, and that his local selection committee basically disowned him and they put up another candidate for the next election that isn't him. He could stay, obviously, as an MP, as an independent between now and the next election, but that's him done, effectively. Although it's likely to be a Labour MP next time, isn't it, to be fair? Anyway, the Commons is set to rubber stamp the ban for the Wellingborough MP, 70, after an independent investigation found he carried out a campaign of bullying against a young aide. If the suspension passes, it will trigger a recall petition in the former minister's Northamptonshire seat that could pave the way for a by-election. The latest in a line of votes triggered by Tory sleaze. Mr. Bone continues to deny any wrongdoing, but he would say that, wouldn't he? Ahead of the vote, the complainant in the case had described how Mr. Bone's behaviour left him a broken shell, suffering from PTSD. He told the BBC about the physical, emotional and psychological abuse he had endured. And there's Bone and his wife, and she does not look particularly happy. I suppose when it all comes out, I don't suppose any wife would be happy if these revelations came out about her husband. Never mind, Peter. Try again next time. Anyway, the complainant said, Peter's behaviour was erratic. His temper was often explosive. I've described it as like a pendulum. He would go from one type of personality to another. It was very hard to predict. And that kind of left me feeling quite under siege. A kind of siege mentality in terms of the relentless shouting, the screaming, and the hitting. And the moment he hits you, it's assault. You should have gone straight to the police. But as I say, sometimes you don't, do you? It's one of these things. They control you mentally. They get in your mind. They screw you with you, these bullies. Anyway, the physical, emotional, psychological abuse, as well as what happened later, was constantly on my mind. It was relentless, to be honest. And he also claimed that he was never given a clear timeline of events, or even an estimated one, regarding his complaint to the Conservatives. Well, you know, they don't want to really admit that this sort of thing happens. No party does. They're all much the same. This is why, as well, I loathe parties. Parties are as bad as the individuals. A Conservative spokesman told the broadcaster that the case had been investigated under the party's previous code of conduct and complaints process. The party said that the alleged complainant had withdrawn from the process before the case was heard, which is the wrong way of doing it. Once made, it doesn't matter if he progresses or not, it must go through. Anyway, under the current process, the complainant's case would have been referred to the Independence Complaints and Grievances Scheme, as it is a workplace matter, not a party matter, the spokesman told the BBC. And that's what's happened this time. It's gone through the new code, the new procedures. Mr Bone's majority in Wellingborough in 2019 was 18,540, which in normal times would make it a very safe Tory seat. He's been an MP since 2005, and as I say, yeah, I mean, Wellingborough itself is very left-wing. It's a sort of what you describe dirty old town kind of thing, really, but it's surrounded by these big areas of rural England, if you will, Tory, true blue Tory heartland kind of stuff, you know, spires and squires, all that stuff. But anyway, the party last week saw a majority of more than 25,000 overturned in a by-election in mid-Bedfordshire. Very similar sort of place. Indeed, just down the road from Peter Bone's constituency. So very similar kind of people. So it's easy to see that it could fall to Labour if the recall petition is successful. It needs the signatures of 10% of the electorate in the seat to set up a new vote and effectively end Mr Bone's political career. And I think his career is over. I think it should be over now. As I say, I think the Tories need to just throw him out of the party. They've removed the whip, but I think they need to throw him out of the party and just not let him stand again. He was stripped last week of the Tory whip after the investigation found he had bullied and sexually harassed his ex-aide. He exposed himself on a business trip after booking them a shared hotel room, and on other occasions demanded office massages, according to the independent expert panel. This is sexual abuse, isn't it? You've got a man in authority, Bone. You've got a young aide over whom he has authority, and he's getting him to share a room, and he's getting him to give him massages in the office. This was not acceptable, is it? He is a sex pest. He's a sex pest MP. No different than Patrick Grady. It's only he's on the right and not the left. Even so, they're both the same. I take no differences. Sex pest MP and toucher-upper of other people's children. 5 allegations by a Westminster staffer were made about Mr Bone in October 2021, having had a complaint to the then Prime Minister Theresa May in 2017 unresolved. So it's not the first time that he's had complaints against him. It's not the first time that he's been in trouble, but it's the first time where it's come to pass. The Standards Watchdog ruled the MP committed many varied acts of bullying and 1 act of sexual misconduct against a member of his staff in 2012 and 2013. He said it was verbally abused and hit with rolled up document and subjected to unwanted and humiliating ritual where he was forced him to sit with his hands in his lap when the MP was unhappy with his work. Mr Bone said today that the allegations against him were false and untrue, but I suspect they probably aren't. He said they were made by an ex-employee who had made them years after leaving his employment. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It just means it took the man years to come to terms with what you'd done with him. Doesn't mean you didn't do it. Just because there's a time gap doesn't mean the events never happened. The report noted the complainant was trapped in a room with the respondent in a hotel in Madrid, not knowing what was going to happen next. This was a deliberate and conscious abuse of power using a sexual mechanism. Indecent exposure. It was woven into a pattern of inappropriate behaviour, which also included requests for massages of his shoulders and neck and instructions to put his hands in laps, including forcibly putting the complainant's hands in his lap. Touch my bone. What a dirty, disgusting old man. And the people of Wellingborough and the surrounding areas need much better than that. And I feel sorry for his wife. She's stuck with him all these years. She's lived her life with him, and she's now found out what a disgusting piece of human filth he is. Wouldn't surprise me if, what they call it, the grey divorces and all that. She left him, took half the house and sodded off, and started, or at least lived the rest of her life out free from pervy toucher of children, other people's children at that. Peter Bone. He's not the toucher-upper of children, I want to clarify. He's the toucher-upper of other people's children. There is a difference. Anyway, I shall stop there and I shall come up. Now, obviously, at the time I'm doing this video, they haven't had the vote on this matter yet. In fact, as I'm doing this, it's just gone midday. But we will know at some point this afternoon. And as soon as I find out, I will do a video on it. I won't do a full video. I'll just do a little flash insert video, just give you the results as they come in, as it were. And hopefully he does get that 6-week ban. He deserves no less. He actually, I think, deserves prison time. I think this is a criminal matter. I think it should have gone to court and he should have been prosecuted. And I think he should do time in prison. It's sexual assault. It's misuse of power. It's a disgusting human being doing things to someone over whom he has authority. He's a bully, he's a monster, and he's a piece of human filth. That's my view. But then, you know, politicians, I think they're all like that. There's one or two that aren't. There are one or two I have a soft spot for who I do think are on the side of angels, but a vast majority of them, they're disgusting pieces of horribleness, aren't they? Never look up to them. Never look at a politician and, you know, admire them, you know. Look to what they've done. Look at their actions. Don't look at them. They're flawed human beings, and they're worse than most of us. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this has enlightened you as to the shenanigans of Parliament even further. Like I say, him and Grady are peas in a pod. Anyway, I shall wish you all adieu. Like I say, I will do the update on that as soon as we get through. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I shall talk to you later. Bye.